Hey guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And today I want to start off with some meditations. Not just the video do I want to start off, but I want to start off my day with some meditations. So this is my very first video that I am filming for the day. I'm planning on filming, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 videos today. And so I always kind of sit down with my list every morning. I'm like, okay, what order should I start in? Should I start with my drama video? Should I start with this? I always end with my vlog, which is very, very cathartic for me, just to sit down on the front porch or inside and just kind of, talk to you guys for a little bit. So I always end with my vlog, but I usually kind of start with a high energy video, like a drama video or a TV reaction video or something like that. And today I was like, you know what? I think I want to set the foundation mood for the day. So I thought, let's read some meditations first before I get this day started and kind of see what the universe is saying to me. Now, I've already done this in my personal life. I saved the Melody Beatty meditation books for over here. But every morning when I get up, I do my prayers and my meditations. There's probably between like 4 and 6 books. I kind of rotate them out. I probably have, I don't know, 30 plus meditation and daily affirmation books on varying topics. And I kind of rotate them out. When I get tired of one, I put in another one. But every morning I do my prayers and meditations, and I do a gratitude list in my head. And so that's kind of how I start the day every day. And I've shared this on here before. This is actually a technique that I learned in therapy years ago. So when I get up in the morning, well, now that we have the dogs, that's kind of changed a little bit. It's kind of gone back to before when we had Boo, and before that Tucker and Pee-Pee. So I get up and I, take the dogs out and all that kind of stuff. But I don't get on my phone right away in the morning. It's something that I learned to do years ago. And it was really, in all honesty, it was a really hard habit to break. For me, my phone is right here. It's charged. I have my charger right next to me when I go to bed. It's like I have one of those chargers that's like magnetic. So this has been something I've had to learn over time to do. And I'm not always great at it. Sometimes, like if I'm expecting a call or a text, like I will like look at the phone and see if something's come through. But I try not to get on the phone, at least, especially social media, until I've kind of set my foundation for the day. And then I get up and, well, when I get to my prayers and meditation point, I like to sit outside. I like to be in nature, or at least just like hear the outside noises, the birds, people walking by. In the summer, I love to hear people like either splashing in the pool or hitting balls in the tennis court, or lawnmowers, mowing the lawns and stuff like that. I just like to feel like I'm part of the universe and just hear all those sounds around me. To be honest with you, it kind of right-sizes me. It makes me feel that I am just one part of this universe, but I am a part of the universe. So I do my prayers and I do my meditations. I read, 4 to 6 of these meditation books every single day. And then when I get done with all of that, I ask myself, I do this every single day almost. I ask myself, are you ready to start your day? And this is a technique that our previous therapist taught me, to ask myself, like, okay, are you ready to start your day? And what that means for me is like, are you ready to like pick up your phone? Like whatever comes your way. Do you feel balanced? Do you feel like you're ready to take on like any emails you get? Or, if you like dealing with anything that's going to come your way. Does that make sense? Good news, bad news, indifferent, whatever. And so things that are going to kind of like, rile you up a little bit or make you feel a certain way. Like, are you ready to approach that? And, the saying of, like, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I think we all do sometimes. Those are the days where I'm not typically ready to start my day. Like, I might need 20 more minutes. And to me, sometimes that looks like, just hanging out on the bed with the dogs. Or, before them, it would be sitting on the front porch listening to music, having a glass of water. I like to have water in the morning. I don't know, it's something for me that kind of helps me wake up. And listening to music, or listening to a little bit of an audiobook. But typically it's music in the morning that I'll listen to that kind of gets me, even like getting ready for a video or whatever, when I'm like, hanging out with the dogs and, picking out my t-shirt to wear and stuff like that. I listen to a lot of music, and it kind of centers me. And then when I feel like, okay, I'm ready to go on with the day, like, it's kind of like, like I feel like I've checked myself and I'm good to go with the day, is when I will pick up my phone and and I will start looking at stuff. You know, it's interesting because I have this conversation, I feel like, a lot with people in my personal life. You know, to some extent, my job, making videos online, is social media. I am not a lover of being on the phone. I just don't love it. Now, I like to text my friends and talk to my friends on the phone, but as far as like social media, I'm not a huge social media person. I don't love it. I'm not somebody that scrolls and scrolls and scrolls through TikTok or Instagram. And that was actually something that I learned from the same therapist years ago. I found that I was wasting a lot of time, and I don't tell anybody what to do. Like, you know, if you want to sit and scroll for 4 hours, you know, on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or what, do you, you know, please include my videos in that. But I found personally, for me, that I would get done doing it and I would feel like I've wasted a lot of time. Like, you know, I would start like on Facebook and I would see somebody that, like, you know, I had known 20 years ago, and then they would post a picture with somebody and I'm like, how do I know that person? And then I would fall down a rabbit hole, and before I knew it, it was like a half an hour or an hour had gone by. And I just felt like I was wasting a lot of time, number one. Number two, I was being personally offended, or I was affected negatively by people's opinions online, not necessarily about me, but just about world events, pop culture, whatever, their opinions. And these were people that I did not know, that I had never met, that I would never meet in my life. And I'm, you know, reading things that people are saying on posts on Instagram and online, and I'm feeling a certain way about it, and it's affecting me negatively. And I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. And so at that time, my therapist suggested just getting on like line just to check. He's like, how many times? I said, well, I check social media because, you know, like for my drama channel and stuff. He goes, well, how many times a day do you have to do that? And I said, I don't know, maybe twice a day. And he goes, okay, well, we're going to, you know, we're going to help you, and we're going to set a time limit where you do this for only twice a day and you get on there for like 5 or 10 minutes max. And I started doing that. And I mean, there are days today where I might get on Instagram and be on Instagram for 45 minutes or an hour. There are other days where I don't get on social media at all. I just don't. Like, it'll be like 9 o'clock at night and I'll be like, oh, I should post this show that I've been watching. And I don't even think about it, you know? It's interesting because I really only have like 2 or 3 friends, like close friends that I talk to, and my husband. And my phone, like throughout the entire day, I might like get just 1 or 2 texts and no phone calls, like in an entire day, you know, until like at night. Like usually my friends call at night, so I might get 2 or 3 phone calls at night and maybe 1 text or 2 texts during the day, and that's it, you know. And me kind of limiting my time from the phone has really, really helped me emotionally. And I've shared this a lot too. I used to do my prayers and meditations on the stairway as I would come upstairs. I don't do that anymore. I do it outside at night. Sometimes now, like when I'm taking the dogs outside late at night and I'm walking them around, usually before I start my TV shows, I will like do my prayers and I'll say them in my head as I'm like walking the dogs around in the yard and stuff like that. Sometimes I will, like, you know, take them out and then bring them inside, and then I sit outside for a little bit and I do my prayers and my meditations, my gratitude list at night. But before I come upstairs, my phone is like, it's off. And I put it on the thing, I go inside, I go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, take my contacts out, wash my face, and then I come to bed. I don't get back on my phone. And I'm not telling anybody that they have to do that. I'm just telling you that it has really, really helped me a lot. It's calmed me down. It has really centered me. I feel a lot more detached from all this stuff that, you know, that's online. And, you know, and it's interesting because, like, it can be just the slightest thing that it can be, honestly, it can be like a review that somebody said, I love this book, and it was a book that I absolutely hated that I read like 4 years ago. And I'm like, why would somebody love this book? Blah, blah, blah. Like, this book was so bad, you know, like, it's kind of a running joke between me and a couple of my friends, this Grady Hendrix book. That I love Grady Hendrix, the author, but he wrote a book called How to Sell a Haunted House. Well, now they're making a movie adaptation about it, and I keep on seeing it come up on Facebook. Every time I get up on Facebook, it's like that, right? Like, and then I'm just kind of set off for the day, and so that's not healthy for me. That's not healthy for me to be set off that way. And so there's little tricks and tools. I mean, people ask me all the time. They're like, Peter, how do you stay positive all the time? I don't. I get just as bothered as you guys do about personal things and world events and pop culture things. I get just as bothered as you do. But I have tools and things that I use today. And that, though, distancing myself from my phone, you know, I remember years ago, somebody saying something about, you know, like, I can put this down at any time. Like, I do not have to open this. I can put it over here and I can just say, you know what, I'm not doing that for several hours and just be done with it. And that's probably been one of the greatest tools that I have learned, is to just detach from the cell phone. And I'm not telling anybody that they have to do that. You know, like, everybody in my life loves the TikTok and the Facebook, and I get that, right? But for me, there are times when it's not healthy. And there are some days that I could be on it 3 hours and be just fine. There are other days that if I'm on it 5 minutes, it just sets me off. And so I have to ask myself, are you ready to start your day? What kind of day are you having? And throughout the day, and this is another example of you can start your day over whenever you want. Throughout the day, I might have to ask myself, like, okay, like, you seem real irritated today, Peter. You know, you're irritable, restless, and discontent, as we say in recovery. Like, what is it? Like, are you taking in too much? You know, I used to share this in my vlog. There was a period of time where I couldn't watch, like, the Housewife franchises. I didn't watch a lot of horror movies because I felt like I was bringing in a lot of negativity. I don't necessarily, in my life today, feel like that. Like, I feel like I can watch it from a distance. But there was a period in my life that I still feel like I have to be really, really careful what I watch, what I read, things like that. A lot of people recommend books to me, shows to watch, movies to watch, that, like, I'll watch the trailer and I'm like, no, this is just it's gonna disturb me, it's gonna upset me, like, I don't need to watch this. I'm not talking about getting passionate about something or getting heated, you know. If you watch my other channels, you know I get that way with true crime documentaries and watching Sister Wives and things like that. I'm talking about things that are going to affect me philosophically. And so I have to be very, very careful about what I let in. And that was something that my mom always did too. You know, she was always very careful about, like, she didn't like negativity in her house. She didn't like negative words. And she was very, very careful about what she read, what she watched, things like that. And I think that's something, as I've gotten older, I've been more considerate of. You know, I look at periods in my life where I felt like I didn't have maybe a lot of spiritual foundation, the years that I wasn't going to meetings, where I was dry rather than, like, really sober. And, you know, I had no connection to any kind of, like, you know, I just really wasn't doing any work on myself. And I think about that time, and I think about kind of like a lot of what I was taking in at that time too, and it was a lot of negativity, and it really affected me. I take ownership over that. I mean, I chose to put myself in that position, and I chose to watch those things and do those things. But, you know, today I'm very careful of that. I have to protect my peace. My peace is more important to me than anything today. So I just wanted to share that. I thought I would probably read 2 meditations from this. I didn't think that I would get into this long dissertation about what I do to start my day. But, you know, it's interesting because I can remember when I started that. And my therapist suggested it to me about, like, this asking yourself. It sounded so stupid to me, in all honesty, to ask myself, like, are you ready to start your day? I was like, this is so stupid, you know? And I can remember doing it. It's like, I remember the exercise I learned years and years and years ago from a coworker when I worked in treatment. I think it was from her, that to look in the mirror and tell yourself things you don't believe about yourself. And at that time, there were a lot of things I didn't believe about myself. But, you know, she would recommend to people to say things like, you know, I'm a good son, I'm a good daughter, I'm a good spouse, I'm a good friend, you know, I'm a good person, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy of good things. And when you look at yourself in the mirror and you say those things, it feels so cheesy, but you will come across the one that you almost cannot say. And that's the one you struggle with the most believing. And that exercise has really profoundly changed my life, just as much as the starting your day thing has. And so I can remember when I started this, and I would do it, and I'd be like, are you ready to start your day? And I was like, this is so corny. Of course I'm ready to start my day. And I don't know that I really got it until I was probably 3 or 4 weeks into it. And then I was like, there was one day, and I just was like, I'm not ready to start my day. In fact, I don't want to do anything today. I don't want to do anything today. I don't want to talk to anybody today. I'm like not in a great space. This was years ago. And I can remember that day, and I can remember then asking myself, like, what do I need to do to get to a place where I can start my day? Because that was really like the next question. I mean, I didn't really have an option. I had to go on with my day. So what did I need to do to get to that next point? And, you know, I can remember just kind of going through it and what was bothering me, and really kind of taking a mental inventory really quickly of, like, what was going on with me. And I can remember reaching out to my sponsor at that time and talking to her. And, you know, those are the things that help me today. It's not magic. You know, none of it is magic. It's work. And when I talk on here about, like, doing the work to get through that's the kind of work I'm talking about, is being aware. When we talk a lot about accountability, accountability is also being accountable for your own feelings and your own thoughts. And awareness is a huge part of accountability. Being aware of, well, how do I feel today? what's affecting me today? You know, what am I worried about today? What am I jealous or envious of today? What am I angry about today? You know, and taking all of that in consideration. I think all of that is really, really vital, and taking a look at asking yourself, like, how are you doing today? So just wanted to share that stuff with you before we get into a meditation. So let's get into meditation. Which one should I read? Well, let's look at them first. It's the 9th of September. Let's look at them first and see what they're about. Okay, September 9th, in the language of letting go. I want to make sure I have the right book. Oh, perspective. Well, that might be a perfect one for today, because since I just talked about all that. Okay, but let's look in the Journey to the Heart, because I do love this one too. September 9th, Journey to the Heart. Okay, take time to be pleased. Well, that's a good one, but I want to read about perspective, because I am such a believer in perspective. Okay, perspective, September 9th. Too often, we try to gain a clear perspective before it is time. That will make us crazy. We do not always know why things are happening the way they are. We do not always know how a particular relationship will work out. We do not always understand the source of our feelings, why we've been led down a particular path, what is being worked out in us, what we are learning, why we needed to recycle, why we had to wait, why we needed to go through a time of discipline, or why a door closed. How our present circumstances will work into the larger scheme of events is not always clear to us. That is how it needs to be. Perspective will come in retrospect. We could strain for hours today for the meaning of something that may come in an instant next year. Let it go. We can let go of our need to figure things out, to feel in control. Now is the time to be, to feel, to go through it, to allow things to happen, to learn, to let whatever is being worked out in us take its course. In hindsight, we will know. It will become clear. For today, being is enough. We have been told that all things shall work out for good in our life. We can trust that to happen, even if we cannot see the place today's events will hold in the larger picture. Today, I will let things happen without trying to figure everything out. If clarity is not available to me today, I will trust it to come later in retrospect. I will put simple trust in the truth that all is well. Events are unfolding as they should, and all will work out for good in my life, better than I can imagine. And I love this meditation, and I think that it leans a little bit to saying that things happen for reasons, which is something that I used to believe, actually. I'm not necessarily a believer in that today. I'm not a believer that in like some spiritual manner, this happens because it's supposed to open a door or teach us a lesson. I don't believe that. And I don't believe in a higher power that puts terrific things in our life to teach us a lesson. I do not believe that at all. I think that things happen, and with my higher power, I can get through anything, is what I believe today. But what I also believe is that the things that have happened, and this is how perspective has changed for me, that at the time that something is going on in my life, a breakup or, you know, a missed opportunity or something traumatic or tragic or a loss or even a celebration or even something successful, when I'm going through at that moment, I might not understand why it happened or what happened. I think we get into the why of it all, right? Like I know. Like, why is this happening to me? Do I deserve this in a positive or negative way? Like, what could I have done differently? Why, right? Like, and to the trying to understand or the knowing. And that's what the meditation is talking about. We're never going to know at the time. And we might not even know later, you know? But what I do know later, looking back, is what I've learned from having gone through that. Now, I don't necessarily believe in a higher power or any kind of being out there that puts those things in my life to teach me a lesson, because myself and other people that I know have gone through some horrific stuff in their lives that I do not believe, okay, that any kind of loving higher power would put that stuff in our lives specifically just to teach somebody a lesson. I just cannot wrap my head around that. But in retrospect, having gone through horrific things, I think there are lessons to be taken from that. And when I look back on my life, because I don't want the tragedies of my life to have happened for nothing. I want to have learned from them. I want to have grown from them. I want to be a better person as a result of things that have happened to me or things that I've participated in or that people have done to me or whatever. I want to learn from those situations. I don't want to learn to be resentful. I don't want to learn to be bitter and angry and miserable. I want to learn to be a better person so that I'm contributing more to this world. That's what I want to learn. And so the perspective change for me is looking at my past, whether that's last year, last month, 6 months ago, 6 years ago, 16 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. The older I get, it's like you go farther back in time, but looking back and saying, this happened to me, what did I learn from it? And today, looking back at that situation and not trying to rewrite history, not looking back and going, what would I have done differently? Maybe looking at it and saying, what would I have done differently? What would I do differently today? But not playing mind games with yourself and being like, well, if I had done this differently, then this would have, no, because what happened. And it happened, And I think that, I love the definition of forgiveness, that forgiveness is accepting that what happened, happened. Not that it was okay what happened, but it happened. And we can't change the past. So what are we going to do today so that we are not held hostage to the past? That is perspective change. And that's how I live today, trying to look at things that have happened to me in my past, or successes and failures, tragedies and things of joy, and try to look at it and say, well, what can I take from that today to live the best life that I possibly can today? So this is a good meditation. I started off a little bit differently than I expected. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow.